Darren Cole wiped the grease from his calloused hands as he surveyed the wreckage before him. The alien vessel sat half buried in the rust-colored sand of Kepler 432b's western desert, its hull cracked and weathered by decades of exposure to the harsh binary suns. Most salvagers had passed it by. The ship was too old, too damaged, belonging to a species that had gone extinct centuries ago. But Darren saw potential where others saw scrap. "Just another day's work," he muttered, activating his plasma torch. The blue flame hissed to life, casting dancing shadows across the strange hieroglyphs etched into the ship's exterior. Darren had been a mechanic for 15 years, working the frontier colonies where human ingenuity was the only currency that mattered. He'd fixed everything from terraforming equipment to military cruisers, but alien tech always fascinated him. There was something elegant about how other species solved problems, different approaches to the same universal laws of physics. The outer hull gave way easier than expected, revealing a labyrinth of corridors within. Darren's helmet light swept across walls lined with crystalline conduits, still faintly pulsing with residual energy. His scanner beeped erratically, detecting power signatures that shouldn't exist in a derelict this old. "Someone left the lights on," he said with a dry chuckle, venturing deeper into the ship's core. 3 hours into his exploration, Darren found the heart of the vessel, a massive chamber dominated by a spherical containment field. Inside the translucent barrier, something massive and scaled lay coiled in suspended animation. The creature's form was serpentine yet magnificent, with wings folded against a body easily 30 meters long. Crimson and gold scales reflected his helmet light like 1,000 mirrors. Darren's breath caught in his throat. He'd heard stories, legends whispered in spacer bars about the Draconians, an ancient race that predated most galactic civilizations. But those were myths, weren't they? Yet here before him lay irrefutable proof. His scanner went wild, detecting biosigns so faint they barely registered. The creature was alive, but barely. The containment field flickered, its power source clearly failing after centuries of operation. "You've been sleeping here all this time," Darren whispered, approaching the control console, waiting for someone who never came back. The console's interface was unlike anything in his experience, but engineering followed certain universal principles. He could see the power distribution network, the failing nodes, the critical systems on the verge of collapse. The containment field wasn't just a prison, it was a stasis pod keeping the creature alive. If it failed completely, Darren made his decision in an instant. He wasn't sure why. Perhaps it was the mechanic's instinct to fix what was broken, or maybe something deeper, a human impulse to preserve life in all its forms. He got to work. For 6 days, Darren labored. He rerouted power from the ship's auxiliary systems, fabricated replacement components using his portable fabricator, and jury-rigged solutions that would have made his engineering professors weep. He bypassed corrupted data nodes, replaced decayed power cells with his own equipment, and slowly, painstakingly, stabilized the containment field. He talked while he worked, a habit developed from years of solitary jobs. You know, they say humans are good at 2 things, breaking stuff and fixing what we broke. But I like to think we're also pretty decent at fixing what others left behind. On the 7th day, the containment field blazed to full power, brighter than it had been in centuries. Darren stepped back, exhausted but satisfied. The creature's biosigns had strengthened, stabilized. It would survive now, could probably sleep peacefully for another 1,000 years if needed. He was packing his tools when the dragon's eye opened. Darren froze. The eye was massive, a swirling galaxy of amber and gold, and it focused on him with an intelligence that transcended species. A voice resonated in his mind. Not words exactly, but concepts, feelings, understanding that bypassed language entirely. Gratitude, recognition, ancient sorrow transformed into hope. "Can you understand me?" Darren asked aloud, his voice barely a whisper. The dragon's consciousness touched his mind again, and suddenly Darren saw. He saw a civilization that had spanned galaxies, beings of impossible beauty and power who had shaped worlds with thought alone. He saw the Draconians' final days, a great plague that had swept through their species, and the desperate attempts to preserve their last survivors in stasis until a cure could be found. The dragon before him was Vilrix, a guardian and scholar, one of the last of her kind. Her ship had been damaged during an attack by those who feared the Draconians' power. She had initiated emergency stasis, hoping her people would find her. But they never came. Her species had faded into extinction while she slept, forgotten by a galaxy that had moved on. "I'm sorry," Darren said, understanding the weight of her loss. "I didn't know. I couldn't let you die. Why?" The question wasn't accusatory, merely curious. "You did not know what I was. You gained nothing from saving me." Darren thought about it, then shrugged, a very human gesture. "Does there need to be a reason?" "You were alive and you needed help. That's enough." Valrix's vast consciousness seemed to pause, processing this simple statement. In all her millennia of existence, across countless civilizations and species, she had rarely encountered such uncomplicated compassion. Most beings acted out of profit, fear, or obligation, but this human had worked for days to save a life he didn't even know existed, expecting nothing in return. "Your species is young," Valrix observed, "barely 3 centuries among the stars. Yet you possess something ancient races often lose, the instinct to preserve rather than exploit." "We're not always like that," Darren admitted honestly. "Humans can be pretty terrible too. But most of us, we try. We fail a lot, but we keep trying." The dragon's massive form shifted slightly within the containment field, and Darren sensed something like amusement. "The galaxy believes humanity's strength lies in your adaptability, your stubbornness, your talent for war. But I see now what truly makes you dangerous. Your capacity for hope and your refusal to accept that some things cannot be fixed." Darren smiled. "Guilty as charged. It's a mechanic thing. Everything can be repaired if you're stubborn enough." "Then hear me, Darren Cole." Valrix's presence filled his mind with warmth. "You have given me life when I should have faded into nothing. By the old codes of my people I am bound to you not as a servant but as a guardian. Where you go I shall follow. Your kind shall have in me a protector, a teacher, and a friend." That's not necessary," Darren stammered. "I didn't do it for a reward." "I know. That is precisely why you shall have one." The containment field began to lower. Valrix uncoiled her massive form, stretching wings that hadn't moved in centuries. Her scales shimmered with an inner light, and Darren realized she was beautiful in a way that transcended conventional aesthetics. She was living art, ancient power made flesh. "The galaxy's going to freak out when they learn dragons are real," Darren said, already imagining the chaos. "Let them," Valrix replied, a note of satisfaction in her mental voice. "It has been too long since the cosmos knew wonder, and perhaps it is time they learned that humanity, for all their faults, understands something the older races forgot, that the true measure of a civilization is not in what they conquer, but in what they choose to save." Darren picked up his toolkit and headed for the exit. Behind him, an ancient dragon followed, ready to face a galaxy that had long since forgotten her kind existed. "Come on then," he said. "I've got a ship that needs fixing too, and something tells me you're about to make my life a lot more interesting." As they emerged into the dual sunset of Kepler 442b, Darren Cole, simple mechanic, fixer of broken things, walked into history with a dragon at his side, proving once again that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their stubborn, illogical, beautiful refusal to walk away from a problem they could solve.